right, it's time to talk MAC football. And there's two divisions. You got the West, you got the East. Let's start first of all in the East with Miami. We mentioned Miami before. That this is they're going through a nice few years here under Chuck Martin. It's been what now? He's ninth year, but if you look at it, most of the winning has come recently. Uh, just even over the last 4 years, he has not had a losing season. He gets his battle-tested quarterback Brett Gabbert back, who might be one of the top quarterbacks. Well, he is one of the top quarterbacks in the conference, maybe the best. So that's a big addition. That's a big player to have returning. Uh, the issue is they have some key guys that are not coming back on defense, and they're more of a defensive first team. But you got to like the fact that Gabbert's back at quarterback, and this is a team that was right there at the end of the season to try and play in the MAC championship game.
I think this could be the team to beat inside the East Division in the MAC this year. Chuck Martin has done a really, really nice job with this program here, especially after the slow start. And he inherited a program that had absolutely nothing working for it. Now he's got this football team here. They've been bowl eligible now 3 of the last 4 years. The only year they weren't was in the COVID year when they played 3 games. So you can give them a pass on that. And look what they did last year, last football season here. They won 7 games. They went bowling, but they were only 1-4 in their 5 one-score football games. Yet they still won 7 games. Okay,
Yeah.
So
they lost by 5 at Minnesota.
There you go. You turn that around, 1-4. Make it, give them 2 more wins. Make it.
9 wins.
Make it 3-2, and it's a 9-win program here. I think he's got a lot working for him here this year. He's got some good talent coming back here. The defense sparkled last year. They improved on both sides of the football last year, offensively and defensively. And with this head coach, again, they're the team to beat.
Yeah, if you look at it, not only the Minnesota game, they lost by 1 at Eastern Michigan. They lost by 2 at Ohio, and those are their only. No, and they lost in overtime, the last game of the season at Kent State for a chance to go to the championship game.
Yep.
And they lose in overtime on that rule where you have to go for 2.
Yep.
And they couldn't get the 2, and they lose. And those were their losses at the end of the season. They had 5 wins, 3 losses. The 3 losses were by a combined 4 points. So.
That's what I'm saying. They just didn't get the breaks in those 1-score football games. If that stuff levels out, evens out the next year, they could end up easily surpassing last year's win total.
And the team they beat, Kent State, they have an edge over Kent State now because Kent State has a lot of those players that were shining for them last year, including Dustin Crum. You lose Dustin Crum at Kent State, and that's like losing Dan Marino at Pitt. It is a major loss, but Sean Lewis has done a really good job with the Golden Flashes.
I'm going to say this one thing, though, that they're going to host Kent State coming off of 3 away games. It's their homecoming game. The problem there is they're going to have the revenge, but they're going to be a big favorite in a homecoming game, and that's a no-no. You don't want to lay double digits with home favorites in homecoming games, so just keep that in mind when the game comes up.
Oh, when they play Miami of Ohio again?
No, when they play Kent State.
Yeah, okay. When those 2 teams play each other, Kent State and Miami?
Yes, yeah. When Kent State when Miami hosts Kent State,
okay,
Miami will be a double-digit favorite.
So keep an eye on that as a negative.
So as a negative, exactly, because it's a homecoming game, exactly.
And also, if you look at it, the previous games they'll be on the road. The other 2 games too. And I believe it's their second game in the division. That'll be interesting. The homecoming.
You could say it's a third road game because they played Cincinnati at Paul Brown Stadium before that in Cincinnati. Then they open up at Kentucky, so they got a little bit of a trek.
Yeah.
You take a look, 4 of their first 5 games are away from home. So, but watch the momentum build for this football team by the end of the season.
Yeah, the rest of the division, again, Kent State's a defending champs, but when you get Crum out of the picture, it is a huge drop-off. They lost a lot of other players as well. I like what Sean Lewis is doing, but I don't know how they're going to – I mean, the only good thing I think that they have going for them to compete with Miami is the fact that Buffalo has a second-year coach, and of course – Lance is gone. We spoke highly about Lance, who's now at Kansas. And Buffalo is just not going to be the same, I think. And you got Ohio also. Solich is gone. I don't think they're going to be the same. So just with those specific teams, Ohio, Buffalo, and Kent State, I don't know. I mean, I actually might favor Ohio out of those three to maybe compete with Miami.
Probably so. In fact, I think if you look at their season win total, they're the second choice behind Miami to be just that. Ohio is just not quite the same team that they used to be with Frank Solich there.
Yep.
That spark is gone per se, if you will. But only because I don't think there's a lot of other competition inside that
No.
division. That's why I give it to Miami.
And then also, as far as just in that division alone, the two other teams that are supposedly at the bottom, the one team will be, and that's the Joe Moorhead, Akron. Okay, so it's his first year, and we know he doesn't have the players yet, but at least coaching wise, he might actually have a little bit of an edge with some of those drop offs from those other teams. So maybe Akron can win more games than you think. And I really like the trajectory of Bowling Green. I think Bowling Green is going to start. If you take a look at it, they had no wins, 4 wins in Scott Loeffler's third season, and that included an upset at Minnesota last year. They got Mac McDonald back at quarterback. They got a lot of key players back overall. I think Bowling Green is going to finish in second place in that division behind Miami.
Well, I won't be surprised because they were the number one team in the country in overall returning experience before Bill Connolly adjusted those ratings. They're now number 4 in the country, so they bring a ton of experience back to the Falcons this football season here. And his football team improved last year to 4 wins. So they have to improve this year with all that experience. They could end up being that bowl team, as you said. And as far as Akron is concerned, we started talking a little bit about them in the beginning of the show. This is a team that I would go over 2.5 wins on their season win total with this year. One, because it's Joe Moorhead. And where are they going to win 3 games? You say, well, look at their schedule. It's not overpowering by any means. They'll beat St. Francis in their opener. So
Yeah,
you got one in the bag.
yeah.
They're gonna get drilled at Michigan State, Tennessee, and Liberty on the road. They're gonna play Bowling Green. That'll be a huge game for both teams. Uh, so I think, and I think they could possibly go to Kent State and beat Kent State even. So
Possibly, yeah.
yeah, it's a big rivalry game. They're only like 15 miles apart. So with between Moorhead and Akron, and that's low win total here, I think they can get over that total.
All right, and then the final division and in the conference, and our final conference on this preview show is the West for the MAC, and it's like the same teams. It's Toledo, it's Northern Illinois, and now Central Michigan, of course, has joined the fray along with Western Michigan. So those are the top teams that you have to contend with. Toledo, Jason Candle's now been there 7 years. Quarterbacks back. I think he loses a little bit though with some top players, skill players offensively, but it actually has some really good defenders. I think if Toledo wins this division, it's going to be because of their defense.
Well, Toledo was last year's number one ranked team overall in overall returning experience. They were a little bit choppy, yet they still won more money than they lost last year. Because they were heavily bet on that experience factor, they'll still be a competitor once again this year because they recruit as well as anybody in the MAC. The team I'm going to keep an eye on is Central Michigan, as you mentioned here. Jim McElwain's done a great job with this program
Yep.
here. I know he's away from the program now. What is it? He had a bout with seizures. Okay,
Oh, that's not
yeah,
good.
a Jerry Kill type thing. Okay, so but anyway, he's expected back, and
Okay.
if he does come back, he's done a great job with the program here. You take a look at him, 20 wins in 4 years, or 3 years, I should say. And he's also got a lot of experience coming back on the offensive side of the football here. And they 443 yards of offense last year, 32 points a game. They'll be a player inside this division.
Well, he's got the MAC Offensive Player of the Year in Lou Nichols, who was
There you
only a
go.
freshman last year
Yep.
when he gained over 1,800 yards on the ground.
Wow.
So
Nice.
yeah, the problem is they lost a lot of guys on defense, but we know he can coach. And Northern Illinois, Hammock did a really good job with Northern Illinois last year. They were 0-6 during the pandemic. They come back with 9 wins last year. Rocky Lombardi, the Michigan State transfers back. They've got some good players, including Rudolph and Tucker at receiver. They got some pretty good defenders as well. So Northern Illinois is going to be tough too. They're going to be chopping at the bit at the top of that division, as well as Western Michigan. Lester's back for his 6th year. Let's remember they upset Pitt last year at Pittsburgh, so that was a huge win. And they bring back Sean Tyler at running back, another really good player, and have some good players back on defense as well. So usually Western Michigan is more of an offensive team, but besides Tyler and Crooms, even most of their talent is coming back on defense.
This is head and shoulders easily the best division of the two, the West Division here. In fact, the team that finishes third here could maybe be the better than the team that wins the East.
Yep.
You can make cases for a lot of these teams. Northern Illinois, again, with a ton of experience coming back, 18 starters. And you mentioned also Western Michigan, a football team that I think is almost, it seems like every year they're in the running.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of the recruiting they do. Tim Lester's done a real nice job with this program. He's been there 5 years. He's won 32 games. You could put a blanket over these teams here, and whoever emerges, you're not going to be surprised. Just the way that it all shakes out, the way it is. But I'm still going to back the Jim McElwain football team this year, Central Michigan.
And then the other two teams that round out the division, Ball State and Eastern Michigan. Mike New has done a nice job. They had 6 wins last year. They were 7-1 during the pandemic. But they've got to find a quarterback, so that's why that's a big issue for Ball State. They'll probably take a step down with all that competition in the division. And we, of course, know how good Chris Creighton has been as the head coach at Eastern Michigan. And I see no reason to think that Eastern Michigan won't be hanging around bowl territory again. And they have one of the top defenders in the conference in Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, you don't know what happened to this offense at Ball State last year. They went MIA last football season here. They went from 448 yards a game to 339.
Yeah. With a veteran quarterback, too.
On top of it, and 10 points a game less in scoring. The problem is, and it's probably because, and in fact, I'll tell you the reason is, they were the worst team in all of college football last year in the stats. They were out-yarded in 12 of their 13 football games. You cannot get pushed around the field and lose the stats every week and expect to win football games. So if I were to tell you they went 1-12 in the stats, how many games would you expect them to win? Well, they won 6 games last year.
that can't continue.
That was pretty good. I say it's winning games with smoke and mirrors, so that cannot continue with this Ball State football program this year.